Hello again, it's Tina Wright here for Week 7 Policy Alternatives, presented for MPA 570 Public Policy Analysis and led by Professor Dr. Beth Groves. The DUI, or driving under the influence, is a national problem. According to the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration, about 28 people die each day in the United States. The state of Montana also combats this issue, with habitual driving under the influence being a top 10 offense for over a decade. Habitual is defined as the fourth or subsequent event. Montana recorded 140 deaths in 2020 related to DUI. To combat this issue, the 2020 legislative session amended their current policy to enforce stricter punishments for 5 or subsequent offenses. Today I'm here to review the current change and propose additional alternatives to DUI policy to reduce the amount of drivers operating under the influence on Montana roads. Stakeholders identified with this policy include County Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's and Peace Officers Association, State Troopers Associations, Montana Courts, Public Defenders and Treatment Facilities, the Montana Civil Liberties Association, the Americans of Prosperity of Montana, the Montana Tavern Association, the Montana Department of Administration, and bartenders statewide. Some policy alternatives I would like to discuss today are, number 1, the current policy. The current policy is covered under the Montana Annotated Code, Chapter 8, Title 61, Part 10, and defines the current policy where penalties can range from 24 hours of incarceration and a fine of not less than $600 up to 25 years of incarceration and a fine of up to $10,000. Additional restrictions include license revocation, mandatory ignition lock program participation, and mandatory treatment programs. In 2021, Section 1008 was amended to include stricter penalties for the 5th or subsequent offense. This change was placed in effect on October 1st, 2021, and includes a fine of not less than $5,000 and not more than $10,000 and incarceration up to 5 years for the 5th offense, similar fine and incarceration up to 25 years for the 6th offense, and similar fines but incarceration from 5 to 25 years where the first 5 years cannot be suspended for the 7th or subsequent event. The anticipated outcome of this policy is to remove habitual offenders from the roadway by providing harsh penalties for the offense. The fiscal impact was estimated at $500,000 over the next biennium. The second alternative I'd like to discuss today is to implement oral fluid roadside testing. Upon suspicion of impaired driving, an officer currently utilizes a standard field sobriety test and, if warranted, a roadside breathalyzer test to determine probable cause of driving under the influence. The breathalyzer test currently provides a measure of alcohol present in the driver's system. The use of the oral fluid test gained by swabbing the mouth can provide a measure of additional drugs including amphetamines, cannabis, cocaine, and methamphetamines in the driver's system to provide a probable cause. The outcome anticipated is to provide more detailed measure of probable cause to remove the driver from the operation of the vehicle and provide evidence for conviction. Fiscal impact found for a pilot program in Michigan estimates implementation at $630,000 for training and supplies. Also recommended through research in the Michigan study is a pilot program for 1 year while recording the number of stops of suspected impaired drivers, the number of convictions where the oral fluid test was used, and the type of substance detected in the driver's system is reported to determine the effectiveness and the use of this drug test. The third alternative I would like to present is increased training requirements for Montana bartenders. Under Title 16, Chapter 4 of the Montana Annotated Code, or DRAM Code, the Montana bartenders are required to undergo responsible server training within 60 days of hire and refresh every 3 years. The alternative proposed is that training be completed annually. The anticipated outcome of this change is to alter the dynamics of the problem and prevent drivers who have been drinking to enter the roadways. Training servers to recognize signs of intoxication and empowering them to limit intake can reduce roadway dangers. The fiscal impact is difficult to quantify. However, it is anticipated that an increase in documentation may require additional personnel in the Department of Administration. Right now, that is estimated at $80,000 per year. Bartenders or businesses that serve alcohol may also face added expense, as current license costs are $6.95 per person, $6.95 per person, and no regulation dictates whether this is a business cost to the establishment or a personal cost to the employee. For the evaluation matrix and time-restricted purposes, I am providing an evaluation on alternative number 2, the oral fluid roadside test. On January 1st in 2022, Montana's recreational marijuana use went into effect. Currently, law enforcement only utilize the standard field sobriety test and a breathalyzer test to provide for probable cause for impaired driving conviction. The breathalyzer tests only for alcohol in the blood or in the system. Additional use of the oral fluid test can provide additional information for DUI probable cause and lead to greater convictions and removals of the drivers from the roads. To assist in the evaluation, I'm utilizing results from the Michigan Roadside Pilot Program and use of the Allure DD2 system. Effectiveness in the Michigan Pilot Program. 89 drivers that were arrested during the program were arrested during the program, and 83 tested positive. A total of 92 tests were administered. 8 tests showed negative for all drug categories, and 21 tests showed positive results for 2 or more drugs present. These results indicated that the tool used is effective and can provide Montana law enforcement added methods to evaluate impairment to remove drivers under the influence from the roadways. Efficiency. The results are rapid and anticipated cost per test is low at $35 per test. Much more time effective than cost effective than current blood tests, which can take up to 2 or more hours after the stop is conducted and must be done by a qualified phlebotomist. Equity. This method is non-invasive and does not discriminate, can be applied to all population groups fairly. Liberty. There are fewer concerns with privacy than blood tests or urine tests, as it can be administered publicly and causes no harm or needle poke to the individual. Political. DUI policy has been historically bipartisan. Social. There may be backlash from society due to concerns of misuse of the swabs. Administrative. The Michigan Pilot Program implemented a one-day training for all operators, so specific training like those required for a phlebotomist, are not necessary, so administration should be relatively easy. Technical. The equipment is handheld and readily available. In conclusion, I have gone over 3 different policy alternatives: the current policy, which is the as is policy, oral fluid tests, and increased server training. Thank you and have a great day.